Now we can get started with the important part of this lesson, live tooling. The first thing I want to do is to cut this hex shape off the front of the part. We don't have to switch into any special mode. All we have to do is tell it the type of toolpath that we want to create, and Fusion will understand that it's already in lathe mode, and it will figure out how to apply that. But before we create the strategy to machine off this front hex, let's do a quick inspect, and let's select that fillet. Now notice you can pick an edge, or you can see the fillet highlight. When you see that fillet highlight, select it, and it'll tell you that that's a radius of 0.125. Now let's close the measure function, and we'll go to our 2D pull down where we can select any toolpath we want. We're going to be doing a 2D contour. We'll select our tool from the library, and you'll find there's a 1/2 inch end mill with an 1/8 inch bullnose radius. For our geometry, we need to pick something that goes all the way around that profile. I'm going to pick this one that's more or less on the bottom, but not actually at the end of the fillet, at the top of the fillet. So pick that for our chain. For our heights, this is where we're going to set our final depth. Now I don't want it to machine just to that edge that I picked. I want it to machine all the way down to the bottom edge of the fillet. So I'm going to select my bottom height as a selection, and I'm going to pick anything at that bottom edge of the fillet. For our passes, I'm going to tell it that I want one rough pass, and the step over amount doesn't matter when you're only doing one rough pass. It's only going to take one cut of whatever stock is there. But then I want it to take a finished step over pass of 30 thousandths. Let's take a look at our linking parameters. I'm going to set my horizontal lead-in radius to 150 thousandths. I'm going to do 110 degree sweep, and I want the linear lead-in to be 150 thousandths. And I'm going to set my vertical lead-in to 0. Let's OK that. And we can see here how it sweeps in and cuts around, does the second cut, and then comes off. Now at this point, we've done a fair amount of work. If you haven't saved your part, you should save it now. You may want to save it under a new name to keep the original part intact. So I'll go to my File pull down, and I'll say Save As. I'm going to keep it in that same folder, which is my Lathe Live Tooling folder. And I'll change the name of the part to say Turning Hex Cap Toolpath. And we'll OK that. Now let's put that radius along that front edge. Again, we're going to be doing a 2D contour toolpath. We'll select our tool, and in this case, it's going to be a 1/2 inch radius mill. So we're going to be machining with this little radius lip on the edge of the cutter. For our geometry, I'm going to pick this bottom edge of the radius lip. We're not going to change anything on our heights tab because the edge that I picked is actually going to be the bottom edge of the tool. Passes, I'm just going to take a single cut. However, you could take multiple cuts if you wanted to. Remember, you can also change your compensation type to a wear type or an inverse wear type, and that'll give the operator some control at the machine to adjust this with cutter comp, just in case his cutter is a little bit too large or too small. I'll set mine to wear compensation. For our linking tab, again, I might want to adjust my lead in, lead out values. That's up to you. And we'll say OK. Now, of course, It isn't a bad idea to take a look at what we've done, so I could right-click on my setup and tell it to simulate this. Show me the stock. I'm going to set my stock to a ceramic type. I like to show my toolpath as a tail. And you could either hit play or just have it go to the end. And remember, you have your speed control down here. And I can see right away that we forgot our finish cut. I can tell by the way it left stock along here. So I guess we'll do that next.